Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's do a complete beginner's guide to Whiskerwood. Whiskerwood is an awesome early access builder game, and I'm going to put a link in the description to the Steam page if you want to check it out if you haven't done so already, and you're just looking to see if this is a game you want to play. But if you have purchased the game, and you've encountered it to be difficult, you are not alone. This is a hard game to get into. On the surface, it's cute. It's got this, adorable mouse kind of Shire crossover aesthetic, but it is a challenging game because of the mechanics. And what I want to do in this guide is start up a brand new game so you can follow along as I explain my decision making through the entire thought process of playing probably through the first winter, and if you guys want to see more, we can do that. I'm going to explain the controls, the UI, how to play, how to survive, tips and tricks that I learned. My first colony crashed and burned because I grew too quickly, and I want to explain what it takes to be successful so that you can have fun with this game, because once it gets going, it's just such a cool kind of mashup of Timberborn and Banished and Dwarf Fortress, all in one. So let's fire up a new game. Now, when you start, I'm going to just leave most of these settings at default for the guide. I'm going to be on Far Frontier, which is the scenario. I'm going to go on normal difficulty. Now, this is something where you may decide to start on cozy, and that is totally fine. It'll be easier perhaps to learn the concepts on cozy, but I want to do the guide on normal so that you can get a real sense of what it's actually like when you're up against it on the default difficulty level. I'm going to do normal map size. Large might actually be a little bit better because you get some more islands, but I think just, to not get overwhelmed, for our very first little tutorial here, we're going to do just everything at default. Now, I'm going to change the name and call it Tutorial Town. And then the one thing, though, that you might want to change is over here, which is your crew. So these are the different mice that are going to come with us on our expedition. And just like if you've played Oxygen Not Included, or, Rim World, or Dwarf Fortress, your pawns need to have certain backgrounds for you to be more successful than others. And you could see their positive and negative traits, and you could just mouse over. So, for example, Ember here at the top, she's greedy, so she expects more from life. So she's going to be a mouse that is harder to make happy with basic stuff. So, in terms of gaining favor, she might be a little trickier, but for the most part, these negative traits aren't a game breaker. Like, this is going to be pretty minimal in the long term, at least in my experience. You could see it just means that her expectations are slightly higher. They're half a star higher than others. Although Dusty, the perfectionist, has higher expectations, and that's because Dusty is an apprentice. So you need at least one apprentice, I feel, in your starting 5, because apprentices can do some advanced labor. We won't need that right up front, but for example, fishing, or, tailoring, or making stone blocks, we're going to need an apprentice for that. So when I look at the different mice, what you want to notice is that they have this little gear, which means kind of like the effectiveness that they work, and then their strength, and then their movement speed. And you want, first of all, you don't want anyone to be, down on movement speed below 100. 100 is just standard, if you can help it. And so, Dusty is actually a little bit faster. Now, I think 100 is the production default, like just standard worker, 100. If you get above 100, great. He's slightly below because he's a perfectionist, so it takes him a little longer to do stuff because he wants to get it just right. However, that's a trade-off that we're willing to take to have a starting apprentice. This is an optimist, which is just like there's no bad. Like sometimes you're going to find mice that only have good traits. Now this one is rebellious and sickly, which is not great. However, you know, they've got less expectations. As a result, it's a negative red star. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. So I'm going to tell you what. Weak is not great. They can't lift very much, but we could put them on something where they're not lifting. For my first time, actually for both of my plays, and I'm going to put a link to my Let's Play in the description below if you want to see me get further in the game and just see some, trials and errors of me starting, failing, and then having a much more successful run. I just took the starting 5. I didn't make any changes here. I made changes when it came time to recruit new mice. I was much more selective. But if you want, I could just re-roll. And I'm going to show you. I re-roll here, and then I get all these mice. And this one, Pole, is actually even better than before. Is diligent, which means they work extra hard. So you could see that their like little production or working gear is 110. And loner is annoying. They don't want to share a home or be near others. But I got to tell you what, I just put them near others and just deal with the backlash. Compassionate is great, but they don't like when people die. And as long as you could prevent that, you don't have too much to worry about. They're extra strong, and this one is too. Monarchist, for some reason, likes the cats, the claws, fine. So I'm just going to take this 5, but you can roll around until you get, what you think is good for you. I'm going to tell you that you're not going to get only good stuff. It's always going to be good and bad, and some are better than others, and so you can just read and see which ones you think are the most impactful. I'm happy we have an apprentice. I'm good with this, so I'm going to embark. Excellent.
Identified your assigned archipelago as a potential colony. As part of the Royal Scouting Commission of 1681, 72 such colonies have successfully been established as a result of those brave Claws' efforts. By the King's graceful guidance, yours could be the 73rd such colony. Your most important building will be the trade dock. Without it, your colony cannot repay its debts. Therefore, I implore you to choose an island and construct your dock. Look for ample trees and berry bushes nearby.
All right. So, we've got a kind letter from Duke Micalico, the Royal Commissioner, about how to start out. And this is actually pretty good advice, which is that you want to pick an island which has trees and berry bushes, because that's what we're going to need. And usually they put your ship like right by the island. It is kind of the most obvious for that. But let's just first pay attention in the bottom left that we could see the camera controls. So you can use WASD to move around, and you can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel, and you can rotate with Q and E, the camera. And I'm going to zoom way out and just show you these are all the islands that we can live on or that we can extract resources from. Now, this island down here is actually not bad. However, it's great for mining in the middle, but it doesn't have a lot of place to spread out. And primarily the issue is, as I'm zooming in, it just doesn't have, it has some berries down here. It doesn't have a lot of farmland. There's some berries up here. So that's actually something we could consider. Now, I usually start on this island, but what's nice is that you can build your dock wherever you want, and it doesn't really matter. The ships just appear. They don't have to like kind of access your place, so you could put the dock as close to the resources and the starting point as you want. And you could zoom out and look at all these islands. Like this one is great for mining. There's amazing resources that you could see just kind of all over. There's metals and things like that, and we'll eventually get to these. But why I prefer this island to this one is because if we start here, we can then easily bridge over to these other islands. Whereas if we start here, it's a little bit longer of a path to get to better islands, and then there's nothing, to the west. So zoom in, and you can see what's here. And we want trees. Yes, we've got those. We want berries. You can see all of these bushes. If I mouse over them, you can see it says berries 8. You can see this is copper ore just sitting up here. These are rocks. This is coal. These are trees to provide logs. There's a ton to mine over here. So I actually like us perhaps starting over there. Although there's not an extraordinary amount of trees on our starting island, and there's not much more over here either, are there? But now the more that I look at this, there's a lot of berries. The middle has copper and rock salt. Well, this island, the walls are too tall for us to start on. The dock is going to go down here. And then we're going to immediately have to build some kind of structure or dig away to build steps up. And that's going to just take too long for us to set up. So we'll work on that later. I think then I'm still going to pick this island. I still like being centrally located. So I'm going to take this center island because we want trees and berry bushes, and we've got them. So if you look in the middle, bottom of the screen, you're going to see the construction ribbon, and it's really, really small right now because we're just starting out and we have very few options. We can select the trade dock right here, and once you select it, it lets you drag around where you want to put it. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter where you put it. The ships from pirates and from cats and the traders, they'll get there. So we want to build the dock next to where the resources are because we're going to build our warehouse right next to that. So I'm going to put our dock right here, and I'm going to have it kind of leaning out a little bit so that I have even more real estate with which to build other structures. Actually, I'm going to build it in. That looks great. So I select it, and I have built this. By the way, I paused the game using spacebar. You can do that at any time. You can see in the bottom right corner, there's the time controls. You can push 1, 2, and 3, the numbers along the top of the keyboard to speed the game up, or just push spacebar again. And now you see how that ship just popped in? That is kind of the game's way, at least as far as I understand it, of communicating that you don't need to worry about access for the ships. Like, they'll get there. So this ship, you can see all the little whiskers on it, the mice, and they want to live here. So just for reference, the whiskers are our villagers, our mice, and the claws are the cats, the oppressors. And whenever anybody lands at your dock, there's going to be this icon above it, and you click on it. And then you get to interact with that ship. So this is the Whisker ship, and this is the Whiskers that want to come live with us. And we get to choose in later migrations which ones we take. But you'll notice these are our starting 5. So we get to bring all of these. Now, taking in Whiskers is something that's really interesting because at the beginning, it's a balancing act of not going too quickly. Now, of course, we're going to take all 5 of our Whiskers now, but you'll notice how it increases our taxes. So we owe the cats more for the more people and buildings and things that we have. So sometimes you have to really consider, well, do I want to take a Whisker because I'm going to have to build them a house, I'm going to have to feed them, I'm going to have to pay more taxes. Can I handle that, or do I want to pass and have a stronger colony and early on, I think it's more the latter. So I'm going to take all of these.
Warehouses are vital to preserving the market value of your tax contributions. Each warehouse has a limited capacity. Watch that you do not satiate your warehouse's capacity on worthless goods. Focus on storing resources that will benefit the kingdom: logs, cotton, and ores. These goods will keep during long voyages and supply work for Whiskers in the royal factories. To reduce carry distances, you should construct the included central warehouse schematic near your trade dock.
So we want to build the warehouse near the dock because basically resources will come to the warehouse and then they will need to be unloaded. So this is free right now, and I like to put it right next to it to make it easy for people to just, the Whiskers can just unload, dump it in the warehouse, and then move on. Now, you'll notice how with this building, you see that there is a front door, and there's like a white square with an arrow pointing in, and that's showing you which way the Whiskers will go in. So you want to make sure that this is rotated such that that is at the front. And I'm going to put it right here, just kind of directly adjacent to my dock and parallel as well, so that their entryways are even. And then when I click it, you'll notice that it comes in as like a scaffold, like it needs to be built. And our Whiskers are going to do that. All of your unassigned Whiskers will build stuff. So I'm going to unpause the game, and you're going to see the ship leave. And this tutorial message is not going to leave until this is complete, I do believe. So you can see them building, and then there we go. Now, it wants us to unload the supply shipment at the dock. So I'm going to pause the game. So again, the reason that we built the dock near resources like berries and trees was because we were going to put the warehouse right next to it, which is reducing the travel time between the collection facilities and the warehouse, and also between the dock where the shipment is coming in and the warehouse, so that there is just minimal walking around by our Whiskers. So you can see this boat appear and arrive, and then we just click on this weasel right here for the supply ship, and it tells us that your starting supplies have arrived. So we got 21 logs. You can mouse over these things. And it's telling us right now, I believe we already have 7 logs in the warehouse. That's what that top little icon with the goods means. And then the handshake icon with money is the value. So you notice how the claw said, really snidely, only put stuff of value to the kingdom in the warehouse. And that's because what he's saying is don't put it with things that we won't buy. And that's actually important because we have to pay taxes. And we pay taxes by giving them items that they have a set value for. So, for example, the logs have this value. This food, this hardtack, this is good because we can eat it, and our people like it. You can see it's a 2-star value, and it gives them plus 10 to their production speed, but the cats won't buy it. The machinery, no tax value. The cats won't buy it, but we need it. And then the woven cloaks, absolutely something that we have to have, especially when it gets cold, but the cats won't buy it. So you just pay attention to what you're getting and where we can make money, and we're going to talk about that, because that is the trickiest thing, I think, about starting out in Whiskerwood, is that you have to pay taxes all the time. They keep going up, and you need to be able to become solvent so that you can survive and not have to give them, for example, all of your food. He didn't mention food in the list, but you can sell the cats berries, for example, which is fine, but it's not fine if you're going to run out of food. So I'm going to unload the supplies.
Congratulations to you and your fellow colonists. Under commission of the king, it is my privilege to offer this colony charter. You embark on a mission worthy of the greatest of Whiskers, and all of your kind shall thank you for your efforts. As you tame these wild lands and earn the payment for your taxes, you are doing more than any Whisker before you. With your sweat, you secure the means by which some industrious Whiskers might enjoy safety. Serve your king faithfully, and his peace will reign over these islands.
Great, thanks, buddy. Okay, so whenever the claws give stuff to you, they usually are expecting something in return, and it is taxes. So they want us to spread out to collect resources for them, and then we owe them a lot of taxes for the right to work for them. It's a great deal. And if we don't pay, they shoot us with cannons. So we want to pay. Now, right here, you could see the debt screen, and this is telling us that in 2 days, they're going to come and collect a debt. And it breaks down what is costing us. So there's administrative tax, there's a Whisker ship travel cost, and those, like, the Whisker ship travel cost, I'm not really sure we can do anything to mitigate that. Population will grow based on how many Whiskers we have, and then they're billing us for these supplies. Those were not given freely. And then they're going to start charging us based on how many buildings we have. It does tell you right here what resources they will accept as payment. So berries, and it tells you the price. And for example, flax and then logs. They will take all of these raw materials. But you notice that like they won't take sometimes things that you process them into. So, flax you could turn into cloaks, but they won't take cloaks. Or logs that you could turn into planks, but they're not showing planks right here. So we signed a charter. And now I'm still got the game paused, and the full UI is present. So let's talk about this before we move forward. Running along the top ribbon, you're going to see the main UI hub display, and it tells you how many Whiskers you have. You can mouse over this to see what their backgrounds are. So when we got Whiskers, for example, they had a little icon to the right, and it kind of tells you what kind of labor they're good at in their background. However, you can assign Whiskers to most any task unless you need an apprentice or an educated person or something like that. The hammer icon is telling you how many construction workers you have, which are people that can build. These are basically unemployed Whiskers. They're not designated to a job, but you need these so that you can build new stuff. And then they should go around moving things around as well in the meantime. Then approval is kind of like how much your Whiskers like living here. And the more of it, the better. And the maximum capacity for approval raises with our population size. And we can spend this on recruiting new Whiskers or enacting policies and things. Rebellion fervor is not really something that we're going to have to worry about right now. Royal wax seal, this is much later. Royal wax seals are the approval from the claws. And you can actually turn these in for some nice things. Like, for example, you can ask for more Whiskers to be delivered if you have seals, and you get these by making the cats happy. This is how much food we have, and the little arrow up or down means, like, is your supply increasing or is it decreasing? This is fuel, which we'll need winter time. Then in the middle, it tells you your town, tells you the date, and you could see these little flags that drop down are notifications of generally bad things. So this is saying that all of our Whiskers, rather, have no house, so they're homeless. So they will be unhappy because of that, and we do want to build them homes. And then it's also saying we don't have very much food, so we need to get some food. Then you could see the just basic materials. We have logs, stone, planks, cut stone, and machinery running over here. Now, in the bottom right, we have the time controls, but you also have this little cog that will fill up just to show you the working hours. And when that wheel fills up all the way, it means that the day is over and that your mice are going to rest until the next day. On the right, we have some buttons here that we can click. This is options. This is our colony office, and you can click on this and just kind of see, what's going on right now and predictions for how much approval we will gain tonight. So it looks like we're going to get plus 15 approval, which is good. And that's going to go all the way up to our max of 40. You could see the total resources that you have stored in your warehouses. And you could see the tax report, which is like, okay, here's your upcoming taxes. This is a very useful screen. And again, I'm just going top to bottom on these different buttons. The tax report's going to tell you how much you owe And then it gives you a breakdown of like, okay, well, here's how much I have. I actually have 224 in value, but it's all in logs. And I don't really want to give them my logs. So we're going to try to find something else to give them. And then the quest log, we don't have any quests, we don't have any policies, and we can't do any research. So I'll stop looking at that. In the bottom left, you're going to see the day, the temperature, the weather, and then you can push these buttons to turn on and off, like the temperature heat map, the value. You can change the Z level. So if you put your mouse on a level and then you push Z, it will cut off the verticality of the game to that level. And that's very useful for digging under the ground, for example. And then in the middle, what you're going to do is see all of the different things that you can build or bulldoze. So what do we want right now? Well, right now, we know that, as it says in the upper left, the tax collector is coming. So we've got the tax collector coming, so we need value. We also know that our food is dwindling. We started with some food, but that's going to go pretty quickly. We need food. We need logs to build anything. And we need mining to be done so that we can give the claws metal instead of logs, which we want to build up our colony. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to select resource extraction, the shovel and the kind of pickaxe here. And I'm going to set up some camps so that we can get some labor going right away. I want food to be collected, and I want trees to be cut down. That just has to happen right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the woodcutter, for example, and you can see if I mouse over the woodcutter, it says cuts down nearby trees, and it can take 2 workers, and it's an explorers guild building. So if we have explorers, they can go here to work. And that being said, I'm fairly certain that you can assign anybody to that job for cutting down trees. Now, I'm going to move, and as you see, I'm moving this building around. There's a white circle around it. I'll zoom out. That is the area of influence, which means that's the maximum distance from the facility that the Whiskers can go to cut down trees that we mark. So we want to put this in a location that encompasses, a lot of the trees that we see, but also is pretty close to the main warehouse for the delivery of these goods. Now, the cool thing is you can move these facilities later, and usually I'm pretty sure it's free to do that for most of them. So I'm just going to put it right here. Now, remember, you have to rotate it so the doorway is facing not a wall. It won't let you build it otherwise. But you'll notice that my central island is just like a big mountain. And it's not really ideal. It's not flat. But not many of them are that we can access easily. And that's the nature of Whiskerwood. It's very much a vertical building game, at least in this scenario and on this island, in the way that perhaps Timberborn is. And that is okay, because all we need to do is make sure that the Whiskers can get here. So to do that, you just go to the left button, the paths and walking, and the rest of these buttons we're going to talk about as we need them. All I've needed right now is resource extraction and paths and walking. And we need to build steps. So I'm just going to select these steep stairs that turn. And you see how it says slow travel speed? That's fine. We can't make any faster stairs right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this so that we have a staircase right here that they can get up to this. And then I'm going to build just a regular straight up staircase. And you'll notice this one is like being built up in the air because the game thinks I want to build where I built the Z level I built the last time on. And in the bottom right, you're going to see the controls for raising and lowering. I just push V once and it goes down. And I want to put this right here. So now you could see that the Whiskers are down here on ground level. They could walk up these steps to this one elevation higher Z level and then one more up here to get to the woodcutter and build it and then chop down trees. Now, before I finish, when you place a resource building, once it's constructed, you could do this from the building, or right to the right of that, build resource facility is a kind of dashed box with an icon for the gathering, and this is chopping. So we select that axe, and then we need to just drag trees that we want to be chopped down, and we want them all chopped down. So I'm going to select all the trees on this Z level, and you'll notice you can't just select an area and just select everything because it only selects stuff on that Z level. So I'm going to select everything on this Z level and everything on this Z level, and I'm going to select all the trees on that Z level. And am I missing anything? I don't think so. Did I get... Yeah, there was some up here. Okay. So I'm just rotating around, making sure I got all of these trees selected. Now that's great, except I can't get up there. So remember, you need to make sure that you have enough stairs for your mice to be able to get to all of the Z levels that you select. Now, each staircase is costing me a log. So they're built instantly, which is great, but it does cost you a log. So just be aware of that. And then I'm going to actually put one more down here just to make it a little easier for them to get on this side if they need to go over here. Perfect. Okay. And then what I want to do is go to resource extraction, and we're going to build a forage hut. This collects flax and berries. Flax are like these purple guys right here that we use to make cloaks. And then berries are the bushes with the red inside. And I'm going to just look around, and try to find a good place that encompasses most of these. And as I'm looking, I think that this is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is say this just about reaches everything that I want. So I'm going to put the forage hut right there. Now, no Whiskers can get there, so I need to build a staircase up here. But you need to be sure when you're doing that your staircase does not block access to another staircase. I think this will work because they can choose to either go one way or the other, but if this doesn't work, we will replace it with like a tighter staircase right there, for example. So let's just unpause the game. And you see how all those hammer icons just appeared over the Whiskers? That told us that's the labor they're going to go do. They're like, I'm going to go build. And they're taking wood so cutely out of the warehouse, and they're going to carry it to a job. Now, the other ones are just kind of idly sitting there and not doing anything. And we can assign another job. One of the mistakes I personally made that I am trying to avoid, help you avoid, is what I immediately did was started building houses for my Whiskers. I was like, well, everybody needs a house, and I just went at it. And that was a mistake because I didn't have enough wood to build stairs, and I didn't have enough wood to build gathering facilities. Your Whiskers start out so happy that the negative penalty to their approval that you're going to get for them sleeping outside will be offset for a few days. So I want to get my industry up and running before I start building houses. So the next thing I want to build is a mining camp, and I'm just going to build it over here because there is so much to mine over here. It's wild. So I'm going to go ahead and place this mining hut. Now, I mean, I could put it here to get all the coal that's over here as well, but it's just too far for them to walk. So I'm actually going to put it here, and then we can move it later. I remember, like, they're going to wake up and they're going to have to walk over here, and then people are going to have to deliver the resources. So I don't want it to be too far away. You kind of want to be thinking about your logistics as much as you can. By the way, there's some berry bushes over here, and we didn't set any foraging. So I'm going to select this. I'm getting every single berry bush that we possibly can. Everywhere. All of them. Now, sometimes it's hard to see, like where they are. And so I'll just drag and get everything. But also, we could select flax. Now, I'm not going to select flax right now because I'm focusing on food, but we'll do flax later, which is right up there. Now, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to select the mining tool. Now, when you select the mining tool, you're going to get this different screen. which is explaining to you what the different ore types are and showing you in more detail like where stone is. So if you see these kind of veins that look like almost like bricks, usually that is because there is potentially some ore there, but there's definitely, if I click this again, let's see. Yeah. So this is giving you an indication of where the ores might be under the ground. But you'll notice how stone doesn't have any marking at all. And so that is a little bit odd, perhaps. You do need stone for some stuff, but not right now. It doesn't sell. So what we want is copper and coal. So I'm going to select the mining tool, and I'm not going to, even though there's these crisscross, almost look like bricks running across, that's telling us there's ore there. I'm just going to specifically target where the ore is and then go from there. I'm not going to just strip mine because it's going to take too much time. I'm going to just mine only the squares that have resources so I can get some money. Now, we do need to go up to get that. I'm not even going to worry about that right now. There's so much on the ground level that I don't need to build steps at the moment. Okay, so now I'm going to unpause, and you see that these mice are like, oh, okay, I'm going to go build that.
Paying taxes to the crown is your primary responsibility. Most colonies pay their taxes with ores. Copper pays best, but coal is more plentiful. Desperate colonies will ship out their construction logs. You would be wise to choose the path of non-desperation. Build and fully assign 2 workers to at least 1 mining camp.
So this is correct. I'm going to pause the game. So sometimes I make this mistake. When Malico is reading, or anybody's reading, the voice acting is great. Love it. The game is moving. So just remember to push spacebar to pause it so that you don't have any wasted actions. He wants us to build a mining camp and employ 2 workers. We're already doing that. And as a reward for this quest, he's going to give us an extra whisker. So I accept. And you see that there are these red icons with a mouse head and a hard hat, and that means there's nobody working at these facilities. So I'm going to click this, and I'm going to say, hey, I want a woodcutter. Now, you can manually select, or you could just push the plus button, and it will put people here. I definitely want a woodcutter, and in fact, I want 2. You just need so much wood that I'm going to assign 2 woodcutters right away. I'm going to push 2 to speed the game up. Okay. And now they want us to assign some miners. And to do the quest, we need to assign 2. So I'm just going to assign 2. And then what happens is it says, hey, you completed it. And in the upper right, you can push Chi to replay the message, by the way, if you want. But you can click on it. It will read the message again. And then just click Turn in Quest. And then now you can see we have an extra whisker. And we need to assign a forager, and I will. Now, I'm only going to assign 1 forager right now because I want to keep somebody free to build. Because now that we've built the major resources that we want to extract, we're going to build a farm later. We don't need to build an earthworks anytime soon. We are going to be focusing on mining, chopping down trees, and getting food. But if we have wood left over, logs left over, which we do, now we want to focus on building houses. So I'm going to click on the house. You want to build log cabins. You could build stone shelters, but I never do because, they don't like it. There's no quality bonus. So the log cabin, it does take logs, which are, more difficult to get in the sense of you need it for everything. But I want my whiskers to be happy. I want approval. So I'm going to build these houses. And you could put them wherever you like for them, to live, and I'm going to go ahead and just put them right here by the dock, and I can build 2. I can put in more, I just don't have the wood for it. But I'm going to show you something cool about this game, which is, you see how I built 3 houses right there? You can build vertically and stack the houses up, but you can't do that until they're finished. So I'm just going to try to build 3 for right now, and they're not going to be able to do it. I'm actually going to select this log cabin, and I'm going to click Pause Construction, so that there's no effort spent on this. I want these to be finished. Hey! Speak of the Whiskers. The Whisker ship has arrived. I'm going to click on this, and now we get to spend our 25 approval on getting more workers. Now, there is a apprentice, Sniffles. We want Sniffles all day long. I'm going to recruit. They're rated. They cost more approval based on how good they are, and then the cost goes up for each one you take off the boat. So, who else do I want? Well, this guy snores and disrupts other people. This guy's an unsafe worker, and this guy is a nosy pessimist, and she's a nosy heavy eater. So these are like not very good. I'll take unsafe worker. All it means is that they wear out industrial machinery faster, so just don't put them on a job that uses industrial machinery, and you are okay. So I'm going to take these two. I don't have any more approval anyway, so I can't take any more. So after that, I'm just going to click, you could click refuse on each one, or just click, refuse all, and here we go. So now we go up to 8 Whiskers, which is actually good, because I want another Whisker foraging, and then now we have 2 workers, which is excellent. So you can see they're going to town here, and they're building these houses. But you see our taxes went up. Now we have 104 due, and we only have 40 in storage. Remember we had so much in storage? That was because we had a lot of logs. Now we have no logs, and the storage is empty. But we're getting copper. Now, you can see that this mouse right here just delivered copper, and it went inside here. And inside the mining camp, there is 1 copper. It can hold 6. It is not reflecting that on the storage up here because the goods have to be taken back to the main warehouse to be counted for tax purposes. So you can always kind of just look in here and see how much you have, and then you have to wait for that to be delivered, which it will, for the tax man. That little shoe icon that went above their head, you can click on the Whisker and see. If you ever see those moodles or, icons appear and you wonder what that is, click on it. And that was a minus for doing hard labor. They're like, oh, that was hard. I don't like it. And there's really, that's just the way of it. You're not going to do much about that. Just know that they don't like doing hard labor. I mean, who would? But it's a minor loss. So you can see they're getting berries. They're filling up here. They're building these houses. We have 5 more wood. So after they finish this house, I can unpause the construction and build that. And now they're carrying stuff into the warehouse. So this Whisker was, who is from the Engineers Guild, who is an unsafe worker, works at the forage hut, and was like, hey, the forage hut got full of berries. I can only store 6, so I need to go deliver this here, which is why you want that to be close. And so they're spending their time when they could be gathering, delivering. Now we can mitigate that later with some more logistics, but for now that's how things work. But you'll notice our value went up because we could sell those berries. So you can see we're down to 2 approval, but that's okay. It's just a currency that we spend, and we're going to get approval. In fact, if we click right here, looks like we should actually gain 61 approval tonight, almost maxing us out. You could see our maximum went from 40 to 64 because we have more Whiskers. 1 house done, so that will make 1 of our buddies happy. And I'm going to unpause this construction just to make sure that everybody is doing something. Now, here's the deal. Let's look at the mining. You can see over here that our Whiskers are mining, and they automatically dig ladders down. So if I tilt the camera, you can actually see the Z level below, and there are some stones there. So you can actually find more resources down below. If we push Z to go to this map, cutting away the slices, this is called slice view. We can push V to kind of go down, and we can see that on this level we've got copper, and then we don't know what's below that, but we can raise it up, and we can keep going down. Like if I go down one, you can see there's just stone right there. Now we don't really know yet what's going to be under, but we're going to use that to make it easier to see what's down below if we want to mine over there. Now I'm going to just push Z to exit slice view. So we are not... Okay. You can see we went up to 130 in storage because the copper was delivered. If I click here on our central warehouse, you can see that the copper ore, there's only 4 of it in there, but that has helped our value tremendously. So our workers are building these 2 houses. You can mouse over them, get it, mouse over them, to see the wheel of progress spinning up. And our food is actually on the rise. You can mouse over the food icon to see where we're getting our food. We have 21 of the kind of jerky and 9 of the berries. And it's almost the end of the day. Be nice if we could finish the house. Doesn't look like we're going to. It's okay. We're getting some logs, though. You can see, unlike in Dwarf Fortress, the mice can just walk right through each other. So they don't block each other. So this kind of like staircase convergence is okay. They can just walk right through each other. All right. And that gong means the end of the day. I'm just going to push 3 to speed it up completely. They're going to do the end of the day activities, but they don't really have much to do. They're going to eat, and they're just going to eat right out of the warehouse. They don't like that, and they're going to have to sleep on the ground, which they also don't like. But we're up to 291 in storage of money because we're getting valuable stuff. And we finished all 3 of the houses, so that means we have 3 mice that will be pretty happy, and 5 that are homeless. Now, at this point, I can still assign labor. They're just not going to do it till tomorrow, but we can plan. Now, you notice how when I go to the build for the house, you see how these houses, or even this structure, the roof disappears, and that will indicates that it is a building that you can stack. So I can actually put this house on top, vertically. And then I would need platforms and stairs to get there. But if I turn it around, I can kind of build it backward like that. And then they can get into the house that way. So it's just a kind of nice way to consolidate. And some of the advantages of consolidating is that when you keep your population dense, it's easier to heat it, for example, in the winter. Because you can build one fire or something like that. And then it has a radius, and the more mice that you can heat that way, the better. Keeps them close when they wake up to their jobs, and we end the day. So every day you're going to click on that end day, gives you a recap. We actually got all the way up to maximum approval because we didn't get a huge penalty for sleeping outside. So this breaks down your thumbs up and thumbs down. It says each night you gain approval based on your Whiskers thoughts. Spend it to recruit Whiskers, issue overtime, enact policies, and more. And this is a good point. I haven't mentioned overtime yet. You can click on certain facilities and just tell your mice to work through the night if you want, so that you can get something done. I believe, my guess is they won't like it. I never do it myself, but, it is something that you can do. I generally save approval for Whiskers and for policies. And I'm going to end the day. Oh, I already did that, but you got to click over here again. And let's do this. Very good. You've generated a high amount of approval from your Whiskers. Building a town hall will allow you to spend excess approval on powerful policies. Now, this is true, but the town hall, you can see it under services, and it is way over here to the right, and it's 55 planks, of which we have 0. So that's something for the future. Planks are gained by, we would build a factory, and then you could build a sawmill, and you would build the sawmill, and it needs at least one apprentice to be operating. And then you can turn logs into planks. Now the great thing is it's one log makes 5 planks, but we're not necessarily rushing to do that at the moment. What we want to do is just do this basic stuff for a little bit, just to build up our food stores and to make sure we have enough money to pay the tax man who's coming tomorrow. So our builders are, hard at work, and here's a nice thing that you can do. I'm going to pause it. You can actually just click on the mouse icon up here on the bottom or the top ribbon, and it will tell you where all of your workers are, and you can add and subtract workers from entire industries here, and at a glance just see where everybody's employed. So I actually only have enough employment to cover 6 Whiskers. So I could, if I wanted to, build another mine or build another log cutting cabin, or even another forager to get that going. And that's reasonable to double my effectiveness, because I'm not going to necessarily need 2 builders if I can't build very much, and I'm kind of running out of supplies. And speaking of supplies, here's the supply ship. Now, here's something interesting. Once you move further in the game, they give you a choice. He's going to depart in 5 minutes, as you can see in the upper right, but if you have it paused, this is not moving. Now, the cheapest option is here, and you can get a machinery part, which is great, some hardtack, kind of like jerky-ish stuff, and then some tea, which people will consume at nighttime, and it just generates approval. They like it. Makes them happy. And it costs 42, and then they just add that on to the next tax bill. Or you can go for the kind of deluxe package. Costs more, but gives you way more stuff. Now, if you want nothing, you can do that, but it removes trust from the clause. And right now we're at 3 out of 4, but we actually want to build trust. So I don't want to refuse supplies. But if you're in the situation that we're at right now, which is we're actually kind of overshooting the tax man because we've done well, I'm going to select this middle option. Pay a little bit more. Because it gives me planks, gives me wood, we can start making houses, and it allows us to get also some clothing. You can kind of click on a whisker to see, this whisker, for example, has some cloaks, and that you want them to make sure that everybody is clothed. And now, because we have logs, we can just build some more houses. So I can just go ahead and, just start dropping in another house right here. And I could build a house right here. And now you'll see that there's this little red minus sign here. This means like, hey, I can't get in. So all you have to do is go to Paths and Walking and click Plank Path. Now, I couldn't have done this before. You could do a makeshift path with logs. But I couldn't have done it until I got planks. But now I have some, so I can do this. And you can just raise it up, and then it costs 1 plank to build this, and it builds instantly, and I'm just going to build 1. And then now they can just walk right across there, and we build the supports, and they get into their house. So there you go. So now that we're working on 6 houses, so I'll keep my builders so we can get this done. And indeed, if we look down this hole, there's copper down below right there. So I'm actually going to go to Resource Extraction, Mining, and I'm going to select that copper down at the very bottom so they can go get that too. Now, I could build another staircase over here if I want, so that... I'm going to put it right there. You can exit either way, whichever's faster for you. And build another house. Well, you can click on the house to see if they've delivered all of the logs. This has all the logs. This has all the logs. So this is an accurate count of how many logs we have. And we have 4 that are homeless, but really it's only going to be 2 once those are built. So I'm going to go to housing and I'm going to build another cabin, but I'm going to just put it over here on the ground. And I can rotate it like that. So, by focusing immediately on mining, our storage is doing great. You can actually click on this and you could see that we have 336 just in copper ore. And that's what we want to trade. We don't want to trade logs or berries because we need those to eat and to build. All right, I have 10 wood, so I'm just going to continue housing everybody. This will make it so that our approval is high so we can get more. I'm going to build actually like this. Our approval will be high, and I can even build like, do I want to build like this? Sure. Yes, I do. Our approval will be high, so we can recruit everybody. So, I actually don't need this right now. I'm going to just pause construction. We'll use that later. I have enough houses. So there they go. Excellent. End of another day, and now they're just doing their evening activities. So next what we're going to do is we really want to build a fishing dock to get food more conveniently. This does take an apprentice, but it takes 1 machinery, which we have, and 21 logs. So now that we don't need to build houses anymore, we can go ahead and get that. But we're going to wait until we have some more whiskers to assign for labor. And look, they're all sleeping in their house, and there's only 2 whiskers who have to sleep outside. And we are sorry. End the day. Alright, so we can't... One of the things, if you don't spend approval, is it gets wasted. But the only thing we could buy is overtime, which I don't really want. And we can't do policies yet, so it's not a big deal. Just a good sign. And you could see that it's not even a major minus that they had to sleep outside. We're way outpacing with positivity. We're at plus 134 and only minus 36. So every day, even if we went to 0, we'd get max. They don't like eating out of a warehouse, which means we need to build a cafe. And they don't like hard labor, which is not, there's not much we can do about that because we need hard labor. So the reality is, you're just going to have some negative, but you can offset it so easily. Like, they love living in their house. They just arrived, so they're in good mood. They have nice clothes to wear, and on. And you can see your production and your consumption on that window. And I'm going to go ahead and start a new day. Great. So now we're beginning day 3. And you could see we're going to continue mining. And we could see, is there any good stuff to keep mining down below? Looks like, yes, there's some copper there. I'm just going to click mining on that. Excellent. And we're going to finish these houses and then maybe build another woodcutter and just get more logs coming in so that we can build some of the more expensive structures. And everyone, I think this is a good first start to our complete beginner's guide to Whiskerwood. We have kind of got our first migration wave. The taxman's coming today, but we have plenty to pay them with. We took supplies. We've built houses. We've got all of our basic industries going. And we're doing beautifully in the sense that we have plenty of food, plenty of money, housing, and we're going to do this as a complete beginner's guide series because there's a lot to explain, and we're going to move naturally and progress through the game so that you can see everything as it happens and I can talk about everything naturally. And oh my gosh, you see how the cats just appeared there and they want their money. And we'll get into that next time. I want to say thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you are finding this to be useful and fun. Please post any questions you have about the game in the comments below so I can help you out. And if you are a veteran Whiskerwood player and you would like to leave any tips for new players, that'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. You can do that down below. And also, it is worth bearing in mind that this is an early access game and the developer is making updates all the time. So some of this information might change, and I will do my best to update it as we move forward. Take care, everybody.